Hi guys.
Hi.
We are cannabis attorneys with RC Legal Group. We're also the Cannabis Legal Group. We just wanted to jump on today. Most of our practice is helping businesses and prospective businesses navigate the complex cannabis world. So a lot of questions we get is, how do I start? I want to get involved in the cannabis business. I want to own a cannabis business, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. So it is a very complex process with a lot of different agencies, local and state, and a lot of rules to pay attention to. So we wanted to try to jump on here and sum it up for you as quickly and as concisely as possible. So today the discussion is just, what do I do and where do I start if I want to start a cannabis business in California?
Yeah, so in California, it really depends, because even though the state has recreationally legalized marijuana, each city has their own autonomy, so they get to decide whether marijuana sales, I guess, is legal in their jurisdiction or not. So the first step is to figure out if your city allows it, right? And if they do, then you want to figure out what type of licenses they allow and see if that even fits in with what you're trying to do. So, in California, you can get a cultivation license, you can get a manufacturing license, a distribution license, or a retail license, depending on what you want to do. Once you figure out if your jurisdiction allows the type of license that you want, your first step would be setting up a corporation, right? Getting your seller's permit, your EIN, and again, depending on the jurisdiction, some require a business license. Once you're set up, that's when you're going to start, or hopefully have, your property locked down. You're going to start a property search if you don't. That's a really key here, because like I said, very few cities in California allow recreational marijuana businesses. So the ones that do, it's like a race for the properties. That's going to be the hardest part, probably, is you getting that property locked down. So you either want to buy it or you want to lease it, but just make sure that you know that you have to have your landlord's approval submitted to the city. So you got to give them full disclosure.
And to add, the reason why it's a race to find a property is because the local municipalities put zoning restrictions. So it's not that there's a supply and demand issue just in terms of property. It's that only so many properties can be properly zoned within each jurisdiction's sensitive use requirements. So the reason why it's a race is because most people know that in this particular parameters, only X amount of properties will actually be zoned to fit, and therefore it's the first to secure that location. So
yeah, exactly. And so once you have your property locked down, again, it's going to depend on what your city wants to see in your applications, right? So you got to account for your build out costs. It could be several hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what you're trying to do. You want to have your architect. They're going to have to submit very detailed plans to the city. The city has specific things they want to see. You're going to have to hire, your security companies. You're going to have to get maybe like fire approvals, environmental assessments,
your waste disposal plan
for sure.
Depending on where you're located, you could be in a place where there's endangered species. So if you're cultivating in, in lands where there's wildlife protection or environmental restrictions, those are other kind of hurdles that you're going to have to plan to overcome in order to, you'll get the license, but in order to comply with the license and be able to keep it.
We've even seen cities require geologists, like you name it. Be prepared to jump through that hoop to get your local permits. Once you get your local permitting, which could take, anywhere depending on the city. Some are way more liberal with their licensing, some are way more conservative. So depending on the city, it could take anywhere from 3 months to a year to see your local license. Usually they're called conditional use permits. So once you get your CUP, that's when you can apply for your state license. The state of California is giving much deference to the cities. So if you apply for a state license from the state of California, they're going to look to your local jurisdiction first to see, A, is it legal? And 2, did you approve the client's or the applicant's application? So Once they do that, the state will start to process your application. That can also take up to a year. And keep in mind, all this time, you better have capital in the bank to, you know, to pay your rent and your mortgage, you know, while your license is being processed. So it's definitely a really expensive, long process to get involved. I definitely recommend that you speak to a lawyer, whether it be us or someone else. And even if you're gonna, you know, hire a consulting firm, just because there are so many nuances that can be missed, and you don't want your application getting denied for some ridiculous, silly step, you know, that you might have just overlooked.
Because a lot of times a key component to securing your license is to show the state that you have a property secured. And the only way to have your property secured is to be paying for either the lease or the mortgage on the property. So you're going to have to invest a lot of money to start before you can start making money. So just understand that this is a long-term investment, and this is not a short, quick fix to make some money. So if you're looking to really invest in a long-term business model that either is able to get acquired or to franchise or whatever your business goal is, just know that you're going to have to really go through the growing pains of the cannabis industry. And with that, you're going to have to be paying some bills along the way. So you don't want to mess up, and that's why we recommend consulting with local attorneys, either in your jurisdiction or in your state, because they'll be the ones to best be able to guide you on how to avoid costly mistakes, because that's the name of the game right now, is how do I avoid costly mistakes? Because that you're going to make mistakes, but you don't want them to be expensive.
Yeah, and if you have any specific questions about licensing or the different types of licenses, feel free to drop a comment. Let us know what your questions are, what kind of videos you want to see, and we will definitely address them.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.